Hello witchy people. Now Miss Brittany, SkittleKat Spiritual, and I will link her video below. She has, it's actually a giveaway, but I'm seeing it as a challenge. Thank you, Miss Brittany. Yes, basically she's challenged people to be creative. Get your creative witchy juices flowing. Whether that be singing, dancing, making incense, making candles, drawing a picture, painting, anything at all, but get your witchy craft going. So there you go. And then when you make a video or a blog post about it and let her know where it is. And like I said, I'll link her video below so that you can see what she says about it. So if you remember rightly, recently I found a load of old polymer clay, oven baked polymer clay, and it's about 6 years old or so, 6, 7, maybe longer years old. And I gave up working with clay because my hands just can't take. I used to be a miniaturist. My hands and eyes don't take it very well anymore. But I did make the green man, and I had loads of other little bits of leftover clay like this, and they were just bits of leftover clay. So I thought I can use them. And what I actually have done, as you see, there are no oranges here. I used the last of my orange to make these lids. I found these and I made the bark. Yeah, made the little vines and the little things because I already had the towers. I think I used to call them my Rapunzel towers, my little witch towers, and they are in fact bottles. So I finished off and I made the lids for the ones that I found of these, and I remade. I kept the lids that I had of the old ones and remade the bottoms of these ones. So, and these are once again little bottles, and they're like little agaric mushrooms, whatever they are, toadstools. So there you go, and it's actually a glass bottle in there. So along those lines, something else that I really like to use up, you know, I do like to recycle a lot of stuff, but one thing I find really hard to recycle is spice jars. And the reason I find them hard to recycle is because they all come with these horrible plastic lids, and I don't use plastic lids unless they are proper airtight seal plastic lids. So what can I do with a bottle that won't have a lid to it? And this is my idea. So I'm going to stick pens in it, I think. Probably get a pen and a pencil and a really tiny ruler in there when I've finished. Okay, so that's one thing I'm going to need. And lots of leftover clay, which I have roughly put in some kind of order, I think. Yeah, some kind of order. Like I said, I had all these little bits of leftover clay, and let's put them in some sort of order. Right, get those ones out of the way. So that one, and then and I haven't, although I have mixed them, as you can see, I haven't mixed them up brilliantly well. Hopefully that'll come back into focus again, because you know what my camera's like. Right, so let's just get these in some sort of order. That one, and that one. Okay, now the other thing you're going to need is, and it's the only, apart from leftover clay and everything else, I mean, you're going to need a small cutter. Now you don't have to use a purpose-made cutter. You can use a plastic lid. My advice is, if you're using a plastic lid, make sure it's a softish one, because it's easier to get the moulds out, get the clay out. Punch a hole in the top, and that way if your clay gets stuck, you can just blow it out. So yeah, plastic lid. But you will need some kind. Now I do prefer Fimo, and this is going to sound really strange, but the reason I prefer Fimo, I think they call it Deco Gel, liquid clay, rather than the Sculpey liquid clay. I think they also call it Bacon Bond. It's about basically the same as Bacon Bond. Is because the Fimo one smells really lovely. In fact, it smells so good it's almost addictive. But anyway, so you're going to need some kind of Bacon Bond, Sculpey, Fimo, or something else. You're going to need your jar. your leftover clay pieces. You're going to need a rolling pin. Now, once again, I don't have a purpose-built clay rolling pin, so I use this. And this is an old bottle. It's a plastic bottle, and it's filled with water for the weight. Some people prefer to use sand or rice, and they prefer to freeze it. If you're going to freeze it, don't fill the bottle right up to the top. Leave a good half an inch space at the top, or the bottle will expand, and it'll become all misshapen. So you're going to need something to roll out the clay with, something to cut it with, the jar, Oh, I'm also using, I found these old perfect pearls that I had. That's not essential. And the bane of my life, my nemesis, glitter. I found a load of old glitter, which I may or may not use. I'm also using, now this was packaging, and all I've done is I've put 2 layers together. There we go. And yeah, cut it in half. So I've got 2 pieces the same, and this is so that I can put my clay in between, roll it out, and I know then that my clay is going to be the same thickness all the time. So first, you are going to roll out your clay. And I don't care if bits break off. I don't care if it's got bits in, because that's just going to add to it. What I do care is that it's the right width, because you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it too thick either. That's probably going to be slightly thicker than I need, but I can't be bothered to go and find something else. Let's see if I can get it just a little bit thinner. That's better. Okay. Then, when you have got it rolled out, you need to cut out. Now, as you can see, these, because these aren't actually circle cutters. They're for making rose petals, so they're not exact circles. But that's okay. So, I'm going to cut those out. Oh, I can see it's going to be one of them days. Now, I'm not going to... It is going to be one of those days. I'm not going to stick these on straight away. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little pile of circles. Because obviously as I mix this again, the colours are going to get more blended. So, oops. That one come apart. That's okay. Just roughly stick it back together. No, what the hell, I'll mix it back in again. So, yeah, as I mix this again, obviously the colours are going to get more blended. Basically, this is what you want to do. You want to oh dear. Just keep rolling out your clay in between. Some people prefer playing cards. Playing cards are good because obviously they're quite thin, so you can get quite a nice varied depth. I just had whatever, I basically used whatever I had to hand. There's the next one's done. And you're going to keep on doing that. until you've got no clay left, any of it. And hopefully I'll have enough clay here to do what I want to do. So I am going to finish off doing this to as much as the clay as I can, and then I'll be back. Okay, I hope you can still hear me because I'm sat down now. I'm changing the jars that I'm using. I'm going to use this jar to decorate. It's still a spice jar. It's an old herbal spice jar. The only reason is I found that this, here's another cheat. If I use, I will show you what I did. It is the because there's this, it's ridged and ridged again. It's perfect. It's the perfect height for rolling these out. Some of them I seem to have done okay, but yeah. So now the other thing is when you cut them out, if you don't get a full circle and it's a bit of an odd shape, don't worry, that's still fine. So the next thing, now I'm using this tool here, and I got this from, I think it was Hobbycraft, or no it wasn't, it was the Works, and it was in a set of 3 and it was £1.50 for a set of 3, so quite inexpensive. If you haven't got one of these, the blunt edge of a knife, especially if it's a round one like this, better still a lolly stick or an orange stick works really well. So you're going to take your little circle, and with the soft point at the bottom here, I'm just going to roll that up, and then again, so that I get basically a little fan shape. But, and I'm not going to be too fussy about it either. So 1, 2, because, and the reason I do it this way round is because this point is bendier, so I get more of a, it's softer here and more defined at this narrow, this smaller edge here. So this longer edge here is softer because it's longer. Okay, next, grab your jar and your bacon. Now then, if you haven't got Bacon Bond, I don't think, you might still be able to get away with it. Right, this is my Bacon Bond. I have a special brush. These brushes as well, they come like this. And this one's a bit dodge, but okay. Yeah, and these are like, you pay £1 for like 50 of them, once again from China, but they're really useful craft brushes. So grab your Bacon Bond, whatever it is, and I'm going to start right from the very top. So I'm going to put on just a thin layer from the top. Now, as you can see, this jar isn't, I haven't got everything off, and like I said, as long as everything's okay to be baked, you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours. I mean, you have to get the label off, but you know, the little bits of residue you don't have to worry about too much. So that's my top 1.5 inches or so done, and that is all the little nooks and crannies from the top. Next, you grab, you start to grab these, let's put it on with this, and you start to place them. Now, I'm going to have this one quite close to the top. Actually, I think I'm going to have it onto that ridge there. So I've overstuck it just by a tiny amount, about 3/4 of a centimetre or so. Now the next one, I am going to overlap it slightly, and I do, oh crikey, that sounded harsh, didn't it? So I've overlapped it just slightly. Okay, let's get that one up with the other one because it's a bit wobbly. Okay, and I'm going to go round. See, this is not going to be a quick job. This is going to be a really long job. So I like to do these in twos because I don't like to do too many at once because I like to have my space here. Actually, I'm wondering if I might prefer, I think I prefer this one. Yeah, I think I prefer this one. I may even try that one in a minute. Let's have a look. So, basically you just need to make those indents so that it looks kind of like, well, a shell, I suppose, kind of like a shell, but I think they just look like really good scales. Shell scales. Right, so let's put these ones on. Once again, I'm going to overlap it slightly. Press it on there. And if they're stuck down, obviously use your blade or whatever you use to lift them up. Didn't realise this was quite a bright yellow. Didn't know it was this bright. Now that one, that first one, I just want to leave that edge up slightly. Okay, next few. Oh dear, all stuck together, which is what you don't want because it's so warm in here. Okay, what have I got here? Now then, I like that one. That's the one I'm using. Like that. You can see they're not brilliant, but you know, they'll do. And you can be much more exact if you want to. You can be really precise. And the other thing I would say is, if you want this to look like dragon scales, don't use these. What looks really good is, when I did the acorn bases, you get a piece of paper, or thick paper, or card. Let's see if I can find one in here. Okay, so you get a piece of card or paper, and you fold the edge. You just fold it without creating a crease. Okay, so you crease it one side to hold, so it holds that. And then what you do is you grab one of your, and then you just make little arches in it, and that kind of looks more like a dragon scale. So if you want it to be like a dragon, use that. Trust me, when it's all together, they do look a lot better. Okay. Oh dear, I can see this is going to take a lot longer than I first thought it would. So you want these all roughly the same height sticking up. Stick it quite well down at the bottom. What do you reckon? 3 more? 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, it got dark really quick. You see this one's falling apart, but that's okay. As long as the top half is okay, then it's okay. Oh, I reckon that could be the last one. And that last one I'm just going to quickly tuck underneath. She says as everything falls off. Just going to tuck it underneath that first one, so it's continuous all the way around. Okay, now what you want to do is just, now if you want to, what you can do is bake every single layer if you want to. I don't want to. Okay, so I'm going to use Perfect Pearls on mine. I don't think I've ever opened this. This one's called Biscotti. And it's best to paint on when the clay, it's best to brush this on before the clay has been baked, because you will get, it will stick better, and it does change the shade of the clay slightly. So your next layer, and I'm going to start with the same yellow. You want to grab a bit more Bacon Bond and just go over the base of the bits that you've just put on. The reason I'm not covering it all completely is because, like I said, the weather is, it's just so warm. So I'm going to do it in small bits. If it was a cooler day, I'd probably sit and do at least half of it. So next one, and this one's quite difficult because so I'm just trying to find something to pick it up with. Oh, this will do. Yeah, this one's quite difficult because of the shape of the jar. So what I'm going to have to do is kind of stick it in the groove of the jar. So I've had to stick it in there, which is okay because it does make it naturally curve out. So, and I'm going to do exactly the same. Leave that side open slightly so I can go all the way around and then tuck the last one back in. So, and I'm going to start it off in between each one. And I'm going to go round and do another one. Then I'm going to pick the next colour. Now this one, I chose leftover yellow, took a little bit of the green and started mixing it in. And then I'll go on to this one, this one, this one, this one. And I will go round every single time. Just like that. It's kind of boring, but we'll see. When I get down a bit more, I'll show you how I'm getting on. So, I'm getting there, halfway done. And what I've done at the end of each row, when I've got just a little bit of the colour left, I mix it with the next colour. Even though it's already a mixed colour, I mix it some more. So I get this sort of blending effect coming down. Hope you can see that. So I'm going to finish off this row. And my hands are getting a little bit sticky now, which is never a good thing. And my previous row started to get a bit wonky, so I'm going to try and get this row back straight. You see, it's sticking to my hand more than it's sticking to the actual Sculpey liquid clay on the jar, which is never a good thing. So same as I did before, I'm just trying to keep trying to keep it so that it's each scale that I put on is in the centre of the two that are joined before. And I figured there are 10 in a row for each of these, so each time I go around I'm using 10. If you are wanting it to look more like dragon scales, then don't fan them out, push them back in. Don't squash them down flat, but keep them quite flat. You don't want them to be fanned out. Of course, you could make this look like a big cone flower, so you could put petals on and then make actually a stopper lid for it where it comes up to a point. That would be quite pretty. Maybe I'll do that one next time. Okay, this one, the first one you put on gets lifted up slightly. And last one in that bit goes in and tucks under. Okay, now as I look down I want to see as little of the glass as possible, so as you look down in between you want to kind of like just squash it slightly. Now I am not very good actually working with clay, if I'm honest. I am too heavy-handed. And yeah, I'm not dainty enough for clay, certainly not since I've got rheumatoid arthritis and such like. But there, as you can see, that's, and I really do like the way the colour has, if I can dim that down slightly, you should be able to see the colour variation actually really well. So we're getting there. Well, I'm getting there. Right, and I know that this was my last one, I think. And the easiest thing to do as well, if you're varying the colours, is if that's your last one, then that's the one you start on. You start going over the last one you put on, and the first one that you put on of that row. will be the one where your first one goes on your next row. Now this one's going to be fun because it's right on that ridge. Now I was going to keep that ridge and make like a underwater scene, like with lots of bits of coral and shells and stuff, and maybe make an anchor, because I do have some silver and some bronze clay, I think. But I think I'm going to carry this all the way down. So what you do is you line up. Ooh, yeah, this one's going to be quite difficult because it's the jar is shaped out again, so it's going to be slightly more difficult, especially with the heat as it is. And so I think it looks actually nicer if your scales aren't all identical, which is why I don't like to use a mould so they're all the same, because I think it looks prettier if they're all slightly different. Now I'm eyeballing, I'm looking at this down and I'm just squashing this up to meet. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so that, excuse me, so that I can't see any of the jar, or very little of the jar. Okay, now this is what was left of this colour, the last colour I used, this one, mixed in with the next colour. As you can see, that is slightly different. There we go. So this is the colour that's been mixed. This is the next colour to use. So I've taken the last colour I used, this is the next one, and I've mixed them together to make sort of like an in-between colour. But as you see, my hands are very sticky, so I'm going to clean them off, and I'm going to get this round done, and then when I get down to the bottom, before I actually put on my last layer, actually I think after this layer I might bake it. So what I'm going to do is I shall come back and show you what lots of people like to brush on the perfect pearls before they apply the scales, or the, whatever you want to call them, the petals, to the jar. I like to put on the perfect pearls after. I don't know why, it's just the way I do it. I think it's because if I decide not to use them. So what I would suggest is, if you're going to use anything on the clay, get a spare bit like this bit, just a tiny bit of it. So I'm going to get a tiny bit of the clay, just roll it out there quickly. Oh, that wasn't very good. Okay, get my perfect pearls and a brush. And then so that I can see is what it'll look like when it's on there. You probably won't be able to see that, apart from the fact that my camera is once again out of focus. But yes, and when it bakes, it'll change again. Now what I will say is, perfect pearls, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. See that shimmer? Perfect pearls work beautifully on really dark coloured clay. So there's something to bear in mind. But yeah, so I always put on the perfect pearls after I've done any detail into the clay. So when I've done my little lines in, it has to be done after that. And I like to do mine after it's been placed on whatever I'm building. Many people do prefer to put on their stuff before it goes on. If you want to add glitter, now you can either add it afterwards, use Bacon Bond, mix it with a bit of Bacon Bond and put it on, or you mix it in with the clay. But I don't like mixing in with the clay, so if I want to add glitter, I will add it. I'll mix it in with a bit of liquid clay, and paint it on the bits that I want it to show on. Maybe. So I'm going to I'm going to finish off this row, I'm going to put on my perfect pearls, and then I'm going to bake that bit just as it is before I carry on, because I'm going to start handling this and I don't want to ruin it. So I'm going to add on my perfect pearls and bake it when I finish this row. Okay, and then I'll be back again to show you what it looks like. So here it is at the moment, and I will show you what it looks like with the perfect pearls on after this bit's been baked. So here it is, baked and covered in perfect pearls. So you can see it's got a lovely shimmer on there, and it's just about cool enough now to handle, but it's too hot still to carry on. So I've been making, this will be the next colour that goes on, so it's very close to this one, and then it'll go down to the darker blues. And I did actually put some of the perfect pearls, I brushed it in underneath the petals as well, so just got in there just so that it, looked pretty. And then I dusted off all the excess. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more on now it's baked, because it will obviously be baked again when this bottom half gets baked. So yeah, and when I take off the excess, I just get in there with a, oops, get quite on my camera wire, quite a soft brush, but a nice big one. And as you can see, the effect is actually quite pretty. And I think that perfect pearls has really toned down this bright yellow. So I reckon it's going to take me about another 6 rows, and then I've got to decide what I'm going to do at the bottom to finish it off nicely at the bottom. So I have to make approximately 60 more of these and put them on, and then perfect pearls and bake again, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. And of course, you don't have to use a spice jar, you can use any size jar. I mean, I can't show it to you because it's got my water in, but this is I think it's an old Nutella jar. That would be lovely. Obviously you'd need a lot more bits of clay, but once again as well, the clay is, this was just half bits and pieces. Oh, that's hot in there. So yeah, I really like the shimmer on that, and once again, this is biscotti perfect pearls. Yeah, biscotti. I don't know if it's going to focus. There it is. And it's a Ranger one, Tim Holtz Ranger thing, and I bought mine quite a while ago and it cost me £3. So there you go. I'll be back when it is ready to be redone and baked. So obviously I can't do this even when this bit cools down. I've got to wait for this bit to cool down in here, because this is where I'll hold it inside. So yeah, and then it'll be that bit all done too. I love the colour gradient on it. I think it's so pretty. I'm going to really enjoy this one. Actually, put it the other way and use it all in yellows and greens. It would make a good pineapple. Okay, and I'll be back when I've almost finished. Okay, so I just put the last layer on. And what I've done is, as you can see, I folded it underneath, and then using the stick, just taking those lines down to the bottom where I've squashed them out so that it doesn't look odd. And what I shall probably do now, and this is the bit that I may go horribly wrong with, is this bit off. And you can see now why why I baked it halfway through. Like I said, I am a clumsy clay player. So don't want that bit on there. Okay. And I don't mind that it's a bit, there we go. Don't mind those little bits caught in there. Right, so next, all I have to do is paint on my perfect pearls and then bake it again. I bake it at about between 110 and 120 on my oven. It's a fan oven, but it's quite an old one. So I bake it between 110 and 120 for about a quarter of an hour for the first one. And then I'll probably do it for about 20 to 25 minutes for this one. And then when this is all finished and it's baked and all ready, and I will decide then whether or not I want to what's the word, glaze it, because I don't know if I'm going to glaze it or not. I haven't decided yet, so I shall have a look to see what it looks like when it's all done. I don't think I will, because I really like the way it looks as it is baked. So anyway, I will finish doing that and I will bake it, and then I'll show you what it's like all finished. So here it is, all baked, and I think I am going to glaze it. But now I have to decide, do I want a semi-gloss or a gloss glaze? And I don't know. I think maybe a semi-gloss, because I don't want it too shiny, because it's already got the perfect pearls on it. So I think a semi-gloss would be really nice. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back to show you what it's like when that's all been done. It does look a bit like a weird pineapple though. So here's the finished piece, and I've already broken it. I broke one of the little bits off and had to put it back on and refire it. Oh, it's that one there. I broke this one here, and I had to put it back on. It doesn't really notice though. This one here. No, this one here. So anyway, I thought this would be lovely to put my toothbrushes in the bathroom. So there is a fishy, flowery, pineapple-y sort of jar thing. I do actually quite like it. I love the colour. I love how the Perfect Pearls catches it, and it's really taken this yellow down a few pegs. As you can see, it's still a clean jar, nothing on the bottom. So there we go. That's it. Now I suppose if I could make a stopper to put in it and make it like a like a whale bow, you know, like the bow of the tail, and it'll look like a mermaid's tail sticking up from the water. Oh, wrong way. So I might do that. If I do that, I will update the video and show you, but for now this is the finished jar. Thanks for watching, witchy people. Bye for now.